It's gonna be the beginning of the
Okay. All right. We're good? All right. Hi, guys.
Yo.
That was a bit loud. My bad. I know Alan has his headphones on, but we are back with another episode. We have two very special guests with us. Brian and Alan.
Yeah. But we also
have Hannah and Miah. So it's so they're part of our youth group, but you guys aren't currently with us since you guys are in school. But introduce yourselves to the people who might not know you. Whoever wants to start first. Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
Hello.
Hi, Hannah.
I'm 20 years old. I go to Casa de Oración. I've been here since we planted the church.
PK.
I'm a PK.
Yeah.
The last couple of years I've been at Trinity throughout the school year, so I've kind of been on and off when I'm going to Casa de Oración. So when I'm back from breaks, I come here.
Yeah.
Okay, hi guys. I'm Miah. I'm Hannah's sister. I am 18. I'm a freshman in college, so I just started school. So it's my first semester away from casa. But I still come on my breaks as well.
And we go to school together.
Yeah, we go to school together. Nice. Trinity Christian College.
Yeah.
Go Trolls.
Hey.
Go Trolls.
Trolls.
The sponsorship. But it's great to have you guys back, man. It's always nice to have you guys around, honestly.
Yes.
So we were debating, well, not really debating. We just didn't have a word, but Alan brought a word up, and it was temptation. And I kind of wanted to ask you guys, because I don't know how it is in college. I didn't go. I dropped out. And Brian never went. You did it.
I didn't. I wasn't laughing at that. I wasn't laughing at that.
Oh.
Yeah. So temptation.
But I don't know. Maybe it's like different for everybody, I guess. But I don't know how like the environment is in college with in regards to that, because Trinity is a Christian college. But maybe like the idea that I have about Trinity is like much different. That, you know, not exactly Trinity itself, but just like every Christian college that, you know, is out there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you guys think about temptation? Or how do you guys deal with it or go about it if somebody asks you like, hey, you know, I'm dealing with this?
Well, okay, so it's my first semester, so I'm still like getting to know the people there. I think Hannah might have a little more like knowledge and experience with this, but it's definitely still around, you know, just because it's a Christian school doesn't mean everybody's Christian. Not everyone, you know, really cares about like Christianity or even God. Some people don't even believe in God, which is the sad truth. And so there's definitely still temptation. I think a lot of it comes with who you choose to surround yourself with, because a big group of the people there do follow God closely. And that's something that I've been very mindful of, is who am I? Like, obviously you can talk to a lot of people, but who am I really going to consider like my close friend? And I've been looking for people who have the same views as me, the same morals as me, who think like I think. You know, obviously we're not going to always be the same, and there's beauty in differences, but I think that if I want to hold you close to my heart, it's because in a certain extent we have to have similar morals, you know, and that's something that I've been really careful with, is who I choose to hang out with there.
Yeah, that's pretty valid. I think going off to college, temptation's like, it's tough because it's like you're on your own now, you know, and you have the independence that an adult has, and you can make any choice you want to. Obviously, there's consequences, but it's harder for the authoritative figure, like your parents or your guardians, to kind of be looking out for you. So you're kind of really like doing what you want. So it's really easy to like get wrapped up in the pleasures and whatever you want to do and your own desires. yeah, I think like my freshman year, that's something that I had to adjust to, like knowing that there's no one, like, I know my parents are still there, but you know, it's different than like going back home. So I don't know. I think friendships is a big one, like people that hold yourself accountable. I think this year I've really been making sure I have like accountability from any relationship that I'm in. So like friendships, relationship. I even have a mentor like who will hold me accountable. And like that helps a lot because you have that person to like care for you and look out for you. And like bring you back, you know, but with accountability, you also have to be completely transparent with that person, you know, like saying like, hey, I messed up, you know, like, because if you lie to them, there's no point that they're holding you accountable because they don't know what they're holding you accountable to, you know? So yeah, this year I've been working on a lot of like accountability things, like, so I don't fall into temptation.
Makes sense. Question, because I do believe, like, well, I mean, not right now. I mean, I think definitely meeting you two has definitely changed my perspective, but I used to have this perspective because both of you are daughters from a pastor, you know, and just like me, when I first think about a PK, it's like, oh, well, you know, they're like the holy ones, to put it that way. But, I mean, do you guys ever go to your dad to look for accountability? Like, in that regard, or I don't know, you know, you guys don't have to go into detail, but I'm like, I don't know if, for example, the fact that like your dad is a pastor, like, does it sometimes like maybe change the relationship? Like, does that influence like sort of like the daughter and dad relationship, or no, when it comes to that, like to accountability?
Do you want me to go first? Yeah, that's tough. I feel like the fact that my dad is a pastor and my mom's a pastor's wife and they've been in a lot of leadership roles in the church, I know I can come to them with questions and I have confidence in them. Like there's a lot of wisdom that comes from them, which I'm so thankful for. I think it's hard going to your parents and like regardless of your parents' positions, I think it's hard going to your parents and being like, hey, like I'm really struggling with this, you know?
Yeah.
Just because you're being that's like complete transparency, you know, like that's hard, which is why like I suggested like a mentor, because that's someone that can also be your friend. I'm not saying your parents aren't your friends, but you know, and I have gone to my parents when I struggle with some things, but I don't know. I think there's certain situations.
Yeah, I agree. I think recently I started valuing my like parents' wisdom a lot more than when I was younger. Because when you're younger, you know, you have like that wanting to be like disobedient, and I like had a stage of like I was like a brat for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, calm down. But like definitely recently, like I have talked to my mom when I'm like battling, mostly my mom. I think it's easier because she's like a girl and I'm a girl, 100%. You know? So like with my mom, it's easy to just be like, hey mom, like this is happening. Like, what do you think I should do? But there are, like Hannah said, there's definitely certain areas where like I just haven't, because I feel like there's just certain things that it's easier to talk to someone that's like outside of your family. Like even like a lot of like the leaders here at church are like my family, like my tia, and like before we had another leader that was also my family. And it's really hard because I don't know, in a sense there's like, can I trust you with what I'm going to say? Or like, am I going to get in trouble if you guys know this, you know? So there's a little bit of resistance, but like at the end of the day, like I trust my parents and I love my parents, and like whatever, when they give me advice, like I take it very heavily.
I think like that's a big thing, like looking for a mentor or somebody like outside of your church. I know like there was a time where I went outside of this church to look for somebody to talk to, because you make a bond with these people and it's really easy to judge someone, what their struggles, you know, with their struggles. And when you have someone to hold you accountable, you're being, like I said, 100% transparent with them and vulnerable, and they see all of that sin and struggle. So when it's someone that you have a close relationship with here, it's hard for them to not be judgmental and not see that struggle when they're talking to you. You know what I mean? I also want to say, like, everybody deals with temptation. I know you mentioned, like, we're pastors' kids, and like you thought we were the holy ones, you know?
I mean, I feel like there's just like a stigma around, like, especially for the people who just go to church.
Yeah.
In general, you know, or even from like the outside, like, you know, because I've heard like, oh, nah, they're like, for example, like when we used to go to other churches, especially when I was in Mexico, oh, nah, they're the pastor's kids, bro. Like, why are you acting like this? Or why are you acting like that? They put them like in a pedestal where it's like, bro, like, hold on. They're like also human too. You know what I mean? But I mean, and like, I think as I've been maturing, I've definitely like, you know, that stigma has sort of been like washing away, to put it that way. But it was like a stigma that I used to have like a lot, because I was like, you know, like, well, that's the pastor's kids. Like, dude, they're always getting like preached upon or prayed upon. You know, they're always getting like the blessings or whatnot. So I was like, yeah, of course they're gonna be early. Like that's what I thought. But I mean, it turns out it wasn't that way, because I have also met pastors' kids that sadly don't go to church anymore as well. So I think at the end of the day, it's a personal decision. But yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, I think everybody like struggles with sin. I think there is like a difference though. Like, I was looking through my notes, and I think there is a difference with like struggling with sin versus like submitting to sin. You know, same with temptation. Like, there's a difference between like struggling with temptation and submitting to temptation. Because when you struggle with it, you're acknowledging that and you're trying to do something about it. You know, you're talking to God, you're going to your mentor, you're going to your friends. Like, you're not staying there. Submitting to your sin and temptation is like, I'm chilling, you know, like, I'm okay with being in this place. So yeah, like, everybody like goes through sin and temptation, but like, I think like a real question is like, what are you doing with that? You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, not a question for everybody. Like, if somebody younger, because we do have younger kids here at the church. And I believe, like, for example, I'll put, for example, with you, I know Nathan probably looks up to you. I imagine that Emma and Maya look up to you guys. And obviously, you know, they're still kids, but, you know, obviously as they grow, well, we know just like the stuff that sadly that we're seeing, like, just everywhere. But I mean, how would you guys like go about it? Like, what's the first step that you would give to somebody like, hey, you know, I'm being tempted with this right now. What do I do? What's like the first step? Should I pray first? Should I talk to somebody first? Should I pray about it first? Like, where do I start? You know, because I think that's something that I think just a lot of young kids struggle. Well, I think that just comes with everything in general. Like, I don't want to specify like on one thing exactly, because I think temptation is just temptation. But like, any practical tips that you guys would like give, like, to like first start? I don't know, whoever wants to go first, man.
I can mention a little bit. So the first thing that I think is, it really does matter what it's about. Like, we can't just say, oh, do this. Like, these are the steps to deal with temptation, because temptation comes in different forms, sizes. It's different for everyone. Like, I can be talking to two different people about the same temptation, and I'd take a different route for both, because of how their personality is, the way they think, the way they just live their life. Like, for example, let's say this is more of a personal one. I deal with pride, right? And my form of pride is different than a person that's more extrovert, because my form of pride is more of like internal. Like, someone will be talking to me, and in my head I'll be like, yeah, nah, that's not you, bro. Or like, like, you're not that guy, or something like that, right? In my head. And other people are a form of pride of like putting themselves above them. It's like, oh, you did that. Yeah, but I did better, right?
Yeah.
So there's different forms of pride. That's the same temptation, the same sin, but different ways of going about it. So in my case, I remember with pride, it was a step that someone took with me. They told me last year, I think I mentioned it to everyone. I told you about Rafa when he told me, like, bro, you're a good person, you have a good heart, but you have you're fake humble. And I was like, dang, yeah, all right, he killed me. And for other people, he's been more aggressive about it. Like I remember I would hear him telling me, he's like, yo, you need to step down from where you feel like you're at, because you're not there. Like, you're not that person. And I feel like just simply also, one of the first things that I would say with regards to talking to someone that is dealing with a temptation is, first, you have to worry about your relationship with God. I don't think we can go and express something to some other people that we're not actually working on in ourselves. And that's super difficult. I remember we were talking about it. We mentioned, like, oh, maybe we'll talk about integrity. Something very personal, since I went to Mexico. God was talking to me a lot about integrity. Like, be like the same person every single place. Be the same person, same jokes, same everything. Even if it's bad, even if you're not holy, like, be not holy everywhere. Like, be you. Like, at the end of the day, like, God will work on you and everything. But I think that the best way to be an impact, be an influence for others, is being who we are, but letting God transform us at the same time. But
Yeah, I think it's really a hard question, because like he said, it's different with everyone. And I'd say, like, the fact that they're acknowledging that they want to change, their sin, is like the first step, is the first, I'd say, like, good sign that they are, like, being intentional about, changing and transforming and growing and everything. So I have actually been in situations like that. And recently I had a friend who was telling me that they wanted to stop doing something. And so, because it's kind of like a pride thing where I wanted to be the one to help this person, I was praying for this person, but like, I wanted to be the one to help them get out of their sin,
the hero,
right? Yeah, I wanted to be like the one to like help them and transform them. But it actually ended up being another friend who actually helped him the most. And so I think sometimes it's not exactly what we do, but if we can like ask God, like, hey, if it's not me, like, bring someone into their life that can change them, like look for someone for them too. If it's a subject that you're not good at, you don't know a lot about, like, look for a mentor for them or someone they can go to that knows more about it than you. So I think, like, knowing that you don't have to be like the person that like is gonna like change them. At the end of the day, it's always God.
Yeah.
But sometimes God has someone else in mind. So yeah.
So, I think, like, humility, like, acknowledging the fact that you're struggling with this sin is, like, the first step. Can I read off of Romans real quick?
Go ahead, please.
We've been
By
doing a
all
Bible
means,
study
by
in
all
Romans,
means.
and I'm
Yeah,
like,
go
this
ahead.
fits. This is Romans 1, verse 22. It says, although they claimed to be wise, they became fools. And it's kind of like with what Brian was saying, like, where's your pride? Like, are you going to ignore the fact that you're dealing with this temptation? Like, if you are, you're a fool. Like, you're not going to get any better. And like later on in that chapter, the next couple verses, it's saying, like, God gave them over to their sinful desires. God gave them over to their shameful lusts. God gave them over to a depraved mind. And it's like, if we like aren't going to ask for help, God will allow us to struggle with that.
Yeah.
Like, it's simple as that. Like, so you really, like, it's on you. Like, if that's something you're struggling with, you got to do something.
That sort of reminded me that no, never mind. Were you gonna say something?
which verse is it that says that the reason why they were turned into shameful sins was because because knowing God, they didn't recognize him and they didn't give him thanksgiving. It's like verses before, right? I'll look for it.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
No,
You were
because
saying
what when Hannah was reading that, it reminded me of when Israel was walking to the promised land, and instead of being a 40 or like a 30-day walk, they did 40 years.
Yeah.
I was like, sometimes we just do have like the exit there. And I think I do agree with Ryan. Maybe I should have planted the question a little bit better, but I think every situation is, you have to manage it differently because of maybe the environment they're in or just how their personality is. I think there's a lot of things that have to be taken into account. But Yeah, that's what it reminded me. I was like, dude, you're supposed to do. Sometimes that's what I think. I'm like, you were supposed to do a 30-day walk, and now you're doing like 30 years. That's that's like sort of what it reminded me of. Like they did circles like so many times. They're just like walking around just because of the fact that they didn't want to acknowledge something. And I think truly deep down, when we're like when we screw up, you're like, dang, I know. I was like, I don't want to mention it, but I was like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. But at the same time, it's I think you do need something that I've been putting in myself is like before I speak this to somebody, have I spoken to God about it? Have I really prayed it first?
Yeah.
You know, because don't get me wrong, like I think I do believe in counseling, I do believe in mentorship, but I think it's like sometimes, at least me, I was like sometimes I'll go look for a mentor first when sometimes God is like, well, no, I'm the one who's gonna do the healing at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So that's definitely something that, I mean, at least I've been trying to implement a little bit more and more in my life. Just be like, have I talked to God about it first? You know?
Yeah.
Or I just like sat down and just like, yo, I'm kind of dealing with this right now. I don't know how to go about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it was Romans 1:21. It says, "For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him." And then that's when it says, after, although they claimed to be wise, they became fools. And then it goes on to say, God gave them over to shameful lust and desires and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember that was something that I would analyze a lot with regards to me in my life, because temptation, we're always going to have temptation. And where we fall, like we're going to fall, like there's no way. Like if someone can stand up and tell me they're not going to fall in sin, right off the bat, I don't believe them.
Yeah.
That they're sinning, like right there, saying that they're sinning. They're like, I'm not a sinner, and I'm like, yeah, bro, I guess. Like, you do you. But it also talks about recognition, like recognizing who God is, glorifying Him, giving Him thanks. We don't have to give Him thanks because we are holy. We give Him thanks and we give Him the glory because He is holy.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about us; it's about Him. At the end of the day, and He works through us. Like, I remember I was mentioning it to you about focusing our eyes on God. Like, at the end of the day, looking at Him is what transforms us.
Yeah.
Like, focusing on Him is what transforms us. I can't change the life of anyone. I can inspire people, but inspiration dies when there is no actual conviction.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I can inspire someone to like take a couple steps, but then he's gonna fall because it's not God, it's me. I'm not transforming him, I'm just inspiring him.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to recognize that your growth is not always going to be linear, and there's going to be times that you fall back into a sin that you were in. And I know because it's happened to me where I'm like doing so good and then I mess up. And I know something that's helped me like not go back to where I was is remembering where I was.
Yeah.
You know, and it can be really hard to like think about where you were because it's shameful sometimes, you know. But that's what it takes for me to tell myself like, no, like stop. Like you were here and you felt horrible, you felt far from God, you weren't happy, and recognizing that like sometimes keeps me from going back, you know. Because like you don't, like God brought you out of that. Like why are you gonna go back?
I don't know why, but it's sometimes like, for example, in my case, it makes me feel like, damn, bro, I just haven't grown then. I just feel like immature. I'm like, dang, I feel like I've been like growing, and just to fall back to what I was before, I'm like, damn, bro, I really haven't made any progress then. That's how I feel inside, and sort of like when I remember it, like that's what I try to do as well. I'm like, dude, but remember when last time you did it? Remember how you felt afterwards? Remember how you felt like so empty and just like, you're like, dang, you just didn't grow? I was like, why go back to it?
Right.
There's no reason. And going back even a little bit more, I think our part as Christians is just to do whatever we were meant to do, right? I think I think there's a parable in the Bible where somebody is going to plant the seed, somebody else is going to water, and somebody is going to collect the harvest, you know? So, I mean, sometimes not necessarily we're going to be the ones being there throughout the whole process. And that was something that I liked about when we first came to this church, because I remember I think it was your parents who told my aunt and uncle. He was like, hey, if you guys didn't didn't find your place here at our church, like we can recommend you to the ones like here local. Like what we want is for you to go to church and for you guys to have a relationship, and that's something that I really admired as well. And I've always told like people who are around me, like, hey man, like you're welcome to come to my church. And if you don't feel comfortable, but you still want to keep on going somewhere else, like, dude, we'll help you find a place. Like, wherever you want to call that place home, like, that's the important part at the end of the day. But I think it just, I don't know, falling back into, like, maybe an error that you once made, I don't know, for me, it just makes me, I'm like, damn, dude, I'm just, like, immature still. But, yeah, it just brings me back to, like, maybe it's good to go back to, like, step one again. Or to, like, to the first floor or to, like, the first... I guess first, I don't know, but just go back. You know, sometimes take a step back and just be like, you know what? You thought you were doing good, but you still recognize that you need God in your life.
100%.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, God allows us to struggle with that, or God allows us to suffer, go through suffering, because it allows us to be, like, in a state that we're weak and dependent, and, like, we're like, Jesus, like, I can't do this without you, you know? And, like, at the end of the day, that's what brings him glory and praise, and that's what he deserves. So sometimes he allows that. But not because he's a God who's mean, but that because he cares for us. You know, he wants us to depend on him. He wants us to say, God, I need you. And, like, it just shows his goodness, even though we may not see it at the moment. Like, he's doing this because he's good.
Yeah.
I also really like what Mia was saying. Like, she was like saying like a tip that like helped her, like remembering like where she was before.
Yeah.
I'm like super big on like practical tips.
Yeah.
So like Lalo, your question was, ways to like
How do you
deal with
it?
temptation?
How do you
Yeah.
deal with it?
So something that I do is I'm a big like question person. Like I always ask like a ton of questions.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
So like I think definitely the first step, like we talked about, was acknowledging your sin. But after that, I always like ask myself like, okay, what makes me fall into this? Like like what are like surroundings that like make it worse? What are surroundings that make it better? What are things, you know, like I'm asking myself questions and questions and questions so I can be really specific about that sin, specific about the temptation, specific about the things that can help me get out of it, because it just brings more success. I mean, obviously within all of that, you have to rely on Jesus. But that's just like a little like thing that helps me at least. Yeah. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
I think that's super important actually. And there's two things that practical tips that you were mentioning. Is you were mentioning mentors, and I actually believe that's super important. I think I've always told everyone that I have three specific ones that I go to every time, and I have some. So I have five in total. Three that are like, two that are local, three that are like not seeing me daily that I talk
You got
to.
people from everywhere, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. Like there's because some people that I really, really trust, like 100%. Like I know they'll make mistakes, they make errors, they sin, everything, but their relationship with God is like super genuine. And there's people that are seeing me. So it's like, I remember I was explained it once. It was like a car. Let's say you're the driver because you are the one that making the decisions, right? You make left turn, right turn, whatever. But you have to have someone in your passenger seat and two people behind that are seeing your side view mirrors, because they can see things that you're not seeing.
Yeah.
Like for example, I remember when I was younger, me and my dad, we were talking about it yesterday. We hit a deer, right? But we didn't see it coming. Like we literally did not see it coming. I'll explain it more in detail another time. But we didn't see it coming because it was coming from like, we were going pretty fast, but it was coming like from behind and it went in front.
Okay.
And if we would have had a passenger in the back seat, they would have probably been able to catch it, and maybe my dad would have been able to brake sooner.
Yeah.
But since we were just two, we weren't able to. So I remember that analogy helped me a lot. Like having people that are viewing your life, viewing things, that are seeing details that maybe you're not seeing, and praying for you. I think prayer is super important. Sometimes we just put it as a secondary thing. But something that's helped me grow also in helping others and helping myself is el que mucho ama, mucho ora. So he who loves a lot, prays a lot. So if I care about someone, I'll pray for him. If I care about what he's dealing with, I'll pray for him. If I don't, I won't. Right? But yeah.
What was I gonna say? Dude, I know we've probably been recording for like 27 or 28 minutes. I know it hasn't felt like it just because I felt like It's just been going. But I don't. Well, I texted Alan, but I know Alan's probably busy. Do we have battery for a second to like record a second episode or no? We don't. Damn. Right now, because I wouldn't like to cut it.
Just keep going and I'll let you know.
All right. No, we're gonna keep on running it then. No, because you know what brought me, what verse was coming into mind, and I started
Which
looking
one?
for it. It was Psalms 139:23.
139. Yeah.
When David is I think it's like when I hear like, oh, David was a man after God's heart. After all he did, I'm like, that's how you know. It's like you don't really have to be perfect, but I'm gonna read it off my phone. It says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Point out anything in me that offends you, and lead me along the path of everlasting life." I'm like, I think that's also just like an important thing, and I think that's something we could even say in prayer. Like, I just really can't see things clearly, but I know you can.
Yeah.
And I think I've always, my dad told me this once. He was like, you're never going to be able to fix an issue in the dark. You know, for example, if you walk into a room and if you want to fix, for example, a cable on the TV, but the room is dark, you're never going to be able to fix it. You're going to have to turn the light. You're going to have to see where that issue is exactly. It's the same thing with, you know, problems that we face, like when right now that we're talking about temptation, whether that be in our heart or in our minds, like you have to be able to put that out into the light. You know, it's not the prettiest thing, I'll say that, but just the fact that you just have it out there and you have to like examine it with God. And like that's the verse that came to mind when David was like, this is who I am, and like please point out anything that isn't praising you or isn't like worshiping you or anything that just doesn't go with you. You know what I mean? Just
And
like be genuine.
I think that's a strong prayer. It's that verse I go back to a lot, and I pray that verse a lot. Because when you pray, like, search my heart, God, and like you said, point out like where it is, like point out like where my heart is and show me. He does it.
Yeah,
like
he
our
does.
God answers, and it's like sometimes it hurts.
He'll be like, I bet.
Yeah. Sometimes he shows us things that I'm like, you know, like I don't know, but
You're
like
not him. You're not him.
Yeah.
but like yeah, like I would encourage, that verse is so good, and like you have to make sure like you come from a place of like humility when you pray that, and like you're meaning it. But yeah, God will answer it.
Oh yeah.
100%.
It's a scary thing too. Yeah, because I'd like, and I don't know why, or maybe, but like you're like deep down, you're like, dang, bro. I was like, I didn't want to say it was this, but now I got kind of like confirmation that it is that.
Yeah.
You're like, I was hoping for you were gonna say something else, but I guess not. But I think that also brings me back to the Sermon on the Mount, where he says like, blessed are those who are poor in spirit, like just saying like those who need me, like those are gonna be blessed because they recognize that they need me.
Yeah.
And I think it's an everyday thing that we just have to choose and carry the cross with us. You know, it's just not like a one-time thing. And I think that sometimes that we will fall into a comfortable position to be like, you know what, like, well, I haven't thought about doing this, or I haven't like seen this, or I haven't done that. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm gonna just like take it laid back. But as soon as like you start getting comfortable, and that's the same thing that happened with David. David wasn't supposed to be in his palace when he saw, what's her name? Betsabe. How do you say it in English? Bathsheba? No.
I don't know.
Is it Bathsheba?
That's closer.
Is it Bathsheba?
Something like that.
Well, something like that. But he wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't supposed to be there. And I'm like, why? Because he was comfortable in this palace. I imagine a palace being like, you know, you having just being your home, just being comfortable. You're not supposed to be comfortable. I think you're supposed to be sometimes literally at a certain place in time, but you're like moving, for example. And I think that's the one thing that happened to David. Like he got comfortable. He started like he took it a little bit laid back, literally, and that's what made him fall into sin. That was it. Really? Oh.
It's about
Oh, it's about to die.
yeah.
Okay.
This thing. Yeah.
Which one? All three?
No, mine.
Oh. Oh, but the audio's still running, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right then.
All right. I guess I'll put in a final thought, and then we can all share a final thought real quick.
Okay.
Temptation is difficult to deal with when we're trying to solve it on our own.
Yeah.
And I think we are not capable of doing it alone.
Yeah.
We need people that are going to help us, and we need to recognize that we are weak. And yeah, and when you start feeling like everything's going good, that's when you most need to pray, because that's when you're going to get tempted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that I'll say, be honest with God and how you feel about it. Yeah, I don't think the fact that you feel a certain way shouldn't make you feel guilty. Like, I think you have to acknowledge it, like, yo, this is something that I know isn't good, but I'm not gonna lie, it makes me feel a certain way. But I think you just have to be genuine. And I think I pointed that out before in another episode, but just be genuine in your prayer. And there's no need for fancy words. There's no need for, smart expressions. There's no need for that. There really isn't. Unless I know some people express themselves that way, but there really is no need. I think God just really loves you for who you are. And that's who he died for at the end of the day. He died for the worst version of you, not the best. He wants to see the best, but that's only through him that you're going to be transformed. So he loved you in your worst version. So just come in as you are. That's it.
Yeah. I'd say be intentional about the way you go about trying to fix whatever your sin is. And like Hannah said, like if there's a certain place that you know you will be tempted, like at least in the beginning when you're really still struggling with it, just avoid it. Just don't flee from it. Don't even put yourself in the position to be tempted. If you know you're still too weak to be around it, don't even go.
Don't play with it.
Yeah, just because you're playing with fire, and at the end of the day, just avoid it as much as you can.
That was a part of the integrity. If we would have talked about integrity, I would have mentioned that point, because I recently heard of that at a preach. Don't play with the fence. Don't get close to it.
I just wanted to leave off with a word of encouragement. Proverbs 3:12 says, 11 to 12, it says, "My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline and do not resent his rebuke." Then verse 12 says, "Because the Lord disciplines those he loves. As a father, the son he delights in." Sorry, that was weird reading. But basically, the Lord disciplines those he cares for. You are going to struggle, but he cares for you, and you're not alone. And he's doing this because you're going to come out so much stronger and so much more dependent on him. And you got this. He loves you. He's there for you. He's not going to leave you as long as you're seeking him, reaching to him.
But
That was it.
that was it.
That was it.
That was it.
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you guys for being here.
You guys are a blessing.
Honestly, we miss you guys, having you guys around. So, but thank you guys for just giving time. So,
Of course.
But we'll be with you guys back next week. We love you guys. And, damn, my voice cracked, dude. I don't even want to talk. You close it off. Close it off.
And we'll see you guys next time. I
We'll see
love
you guys
y'all.
next time, man.
Bye.
Peace out.
That's crazy. Was that part? Oh, really?